Hello everybody. Today I'm going to talk about consultation. And the question is, can consultation damage my health? Your health? Hello, it's Peter Beresford again, and this is the third of Shaping Our Lives, very short videos looking at user involvement. And today we are looking at the absolute heart of user involvement. We might think the heart's in the wrong place, but that's what I want to stress, the heart of user involvement. I guess from my years of experience, and think about this yourself, that consultation is the main form of user involvement that we have in Britain and in other countries too, I suspect. So it's user involvement through consultation that I want to think about today. And I want to approach this in a helpful way. I don't want to impose my own views, but I do want us to give it some serious thought, maybe sometimes in a slightly light-hearted way. So it's consultation. Now, what does consultation mean? I think what it means is asking people what they think. Tell us what you think. What are your views? We like to hear what you've got to say. Those are the sorts of words you tend to hear when people are doing consultations, and they will usually explain. And you need to remember that a lot of organisations and agencies, government ones and others, are required to do consultations. Now that's something to remember, because if you have to do something, then you have to do it. And how well you do it, now that can be another kettle of fish. So it may be that it's not just that they're doing it from the goodness of their heart, they actually have to do it. There are requirements for consultation in all sorts of areas to do with social care, health, social work with children, and so on and so forth, and these can have big force. But it's consultation that I want to focus on today. But before saying any more about consultation, another reminder about what people get involved for, because we're talking about user involvement. And I like to think of user involvement as something that can be really helpful and valuable. And we know that most people want to be involved. They want to have a say. And that really sums it up. What most people who want to be involved, when you ask them, will tell you is they want to have a say to make things better. They want to make things better, perhaps if they're really lucky for themselves or those close to them. But mostly people are quite realistic, and they know that things to change take time. It may not happen this time. We're only around for so long. In fact, there may be people who won't be around for very long, but they want to be thoughtful for everybody. They want to be unselfish. They want to see change, even if it's not change that they can benefit from. So remember that. That's what people really get involved in user involvement for. Now I need to confess something here. I'm trying to be impartial, but I very, very rarely these days get involved in consultations. I'm not saying you should take the same attitude. I'm not saying it's always right. I'm not trying to be on the moral high ground here, but I am just saying that I don't often myself get involved. And kind of the reason why do I think that? Because I have a kind of sense often life is too short. Now let me explain. And let me explain this in relation to one kind of defining road to Damascus experience I had some time ago. I was experienced already. I knew lots about user involvement, I think. I was trying to do user involvement with other people as service users. But nonetheless, consultation beckoned. Nothing to do with the things that I'm usually concerned with, the rights and interests of service users, disabled people, mental health service users. I'm just walking along the road where I live, near the local park. And someone with a clipboard stops me and says, quote, "Would you mind answering a few questions?" Now my immediate reaction usually when someone says that these days is to think, no thanks, and be I hope reasonably polite and say no thanks. But this person, and I guess like most of the people who carry out these jobs, this was maybe a casual job, not very well paid. That's the way it tends to work. a woman, of course, because it's women who tend to get the bad end of the stick when it comes to jobs so often. Anyway, she said to me, I want to ask you a few questions about your local park. And that was the killer for me, really. Of course, guess what, folks? I've got lots of attitudes, lots of thoughts, lots of points of view about our local park. Our local park is a well-known park. It's a big park. I've known it since I was a kid. I used to love our park. It was full of things to do, full of activities. It was nice to be there and so on. But over the years, for two reasons, I think, it kind of got disassociated from an awful lot of ordinary local people. One, and I don't want to be critical of another interest group here, but we all have to live with each other. And the problem began to be one of dogs. And that was really summed up for me one day when we were out with little children, and one of them picked up dog mess and asked what it was. Because there was dog mess all over the place, because of course the park had become somewhere where lots of people took their dogs, and not everyone was unfortunately responsible. It's not the dogs I have a problem with. So dogs were kind of taking over the park, which isn't too good if you're in other groups, like people with small kids, the rest of it. Then the second thing was that worthy people, better off people, came to live in our area. And they were very interested in the park in terms of arts and culture and history and things like that, making it nice. And they were very committed to making it nice. And I think it's great making things nice in that sort of a cultural way. But they didn't necessarily always understand that people just like doing very ordinary things in the park, like having a nice cheap cafe. And hand in hand with the coming of the people who were the more interested in culture type people, were people who were interested in things that might cost a lot more money, because they had a lot more money. Gradually our park became a park where you had to have money to do things, to go to the fireworks display. Cafes weren't cheap. They introduced games, but you had to pay for them. They closed the free things. I had all these things I wanted to say. And of course, I blathered on and said them. And when someone says to you, this is the thing about consultation, we want your views, well, that's at least flattering, but it means they want to hear from you. I want your views. What do you think about this? When they're saying to me, what would you like to have in the park? What problems are there for someone like you? How could it be better? I've got to confess to you that, of course, it feels like they're asking you, they're interested, something's going to happen. Now, I'm not saying that young woman wasn't interested, but I'm not sure our council, which hates spending anything and boasts about keeping council tax down, would want to spend much money. What happened? I eagerly gave all my answers. What happened? I never heard another word. None of the things that I said, as far as I'm aware, ever came to pass. And that's the problem with consultation, and it really is a problem that we ought to be honest with ourselves about, because consultation tends not to be dishonest. It doesn't say, ask us what you want, and then you'll get it. It just says we want to hear your views. That's what consultation, like any kind of market research, is. It asks your views, and that's where it all can stop. There is no statement here, we will then do what you say. We will negotiate the different things you come up with. We'll work out what's most feasible and attractive, and we'll talk to you about your priorities. It doesn't tend to happen. Most consultations, because it really is a matter of what's on the tin, don't do any more than they promise. And I don't think we encounter many that promise that they'll do anything, but they make you feel that they will. They give you a hope, a sense there's interest, a sense of the possibility of change. So what I'm saying about consultation is we really need to be aware that that's all it is. We need to know what, if anything, is on offer. Are they actually saying they'll listen to us? Are they giving us time limits? Are they offering chances to negotiate different priorities? Is there a budget for this consultation to spend money and do something with what comes out of it? Or is it just they've been required to do a consultation? They're going through the motions. They want to make it look like they're listening, but they won't actually respond. They've already got plans, and this is just a bit on top of that. And I feel I've been a bit too serious here, and I suppose there always should be a bit of a joke in these little filmettes. I'm trying to keep them a bit light-hearted, because user involvement is something to do with all aspects of our life. It doesn't have to be serious. It's a serious issue, but we don't have to talk about it in a deadly way. What is the joke here? I'm afraid for me, to be truthful, the joke is consultation itself. It really doesn't deliver. And unless we know that there is something on offer, we should be very cautious about responding to those very warm and welcoming inquiries. What do you think? What would you like to say? Tell me your views. Thanks ever so much. Bye-bye for now.